Hello everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to the session Security Consolidation, Conflict between Delivery. Sorry, Between Delivery and Innovation. We welcome our panelists, Mr. Rajesh Hemrajani, CISO, Paytm Payments Bank, Mr. Rajesh Kumar, Head Information Security, Cyber Security Data Privacy and Business Continuity, excelservice.com, and Mr. Debashish Jyoti Prakash, VP Asia for Qualys. Mr. Ajay Kumar Dubey, Country Head, Mid-Market and Channels, Forcepoint. So I welcome them on stage now. Hello Ajay. Hello Devashish.
Yeah, hi, Sai.
Hey, hi. Good evening.
Hello Rajesh.
Yes, hi. Good evening, everyone.
So if you can give a quick round of introduction about yourself, it would be great for the participants as well.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. My name is Rajesh. I work with the Excel Service India Private Limited as Head of Information Security, Data Privacy, and Business Continuity. Been in industry for about 25 years now, dealing with the various aspect of business and technology, engaged in pre-sales activity as well as infrastructure, and now heading the information security and bring in the perspective of the end users environment to this discussion. Looking forward for a very productive session for next 45 minutes or so. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Maybe we can have the other Rajesh go in.
Um, uh, Rajesh, I guess you are on mute. Hello. Uh, we are not able to hear you yet. So in the meanwhile, Devashish, I guess you can go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So in the pandemic, I guess the most used word was you are on mute. So my name is Deb. The industry calls me DJ. I work with Qualys uh, as a VP for Asia. I have been in the cyber industry for almost 18 years now, and at Qualys for almost 11 years now. So I'm looking forward to talking to our esteemed panel members today, Rajesh sir from EXL and Rajesh sir from Paytm. Uh, I'm not sure if Sarita ma'am would be able to join on time, but Ajay, I'm also looking forward to understanding your views around the topic that we chose for our audience today, which is consolidation of our security stack, and whether or not that is a conflict between innovation that we want to bring in into our organization with all the automation and the scale that we need, and the deliverance that we really require as a target, you know, response from the technologies that we use for cybersecurity. So I look forward to this discussion and hearing and learning from everyone today.
Awesome, Dev. My name is Ajay Dubey. I'm part of ForcePoint. I've been with ForcePoint for the past 9 years. I manage the channel business and the mid-market business. Been in the industry for nearly 2.5 decades, through and through cybersecurity professional. And I enjoy talking about cybersecurity and helping all our customers get the best of the breed cybersecurity solutions to protect their businesses. I guess it is just three of us now, and I think we should get started. In this situation, let me act as a moderator and throw my first question to Rajesh. Rajesh Kumar. What are the top three conflicts which you believe can be addressed with the platform approach and automation? If you can give us a brief about platform and automation and then answer this question, it would be beneficial. Sir, you're on mute, sir.
Thanks, Ajay, and thank you for picking it up. Murphy's law kicks in typically, not very different this session as well. Rajesh, welcome back. Hope you can uh, join completely with audio and video. So to answer, I'll pick it up. It is a very you know specific and very pertinent question in today's world, specifically for the security professionals. On one side, we get enticed with a lot of niche capability. This is a fairly fresh industry. If I use that word very very cautiously, just because there was lot many things which were always in the place, but all these vulnerabilities that comes in, all these opportunities comes in, bring out one business opportunity for someone, and he comes out with a very small niche capability. But at the same time, it brings up a lot of challenges. Uh, Challenges which I see, that that comes along with this is typically skill set, training the people, asking the small group of people that every CISO would have, every organization would have, to train them on multiple platforms. Many of them which are uh, which basically come with not much background and not much of the documentation as well. The second is the integration between these aspects, these niche product. Uh, you have to deal with some of these because there is a business need, because there is a vulnerability, there is a opportunity for mitigating one specific area to deal with. But at the same time, this integration of one product versus others and bringing them all to the same console is definitely the second challenge that I see when I'm looking at my cyber defense center. The third is, it definitely takes out a lot with respect to the bandwidth. Probably many will not count that as a conflict, but if you look at from a perspective, uh, you know the whole process of getting into the POCs, identification, validations, the whole procurement and the identification of that takes out a lot of bandwidth in the current environment where there is so lack of it. So I'll probably count those top three. There is not that there are not others, but yes, I'll probably pick these three to start with, Ajay.
Amazing, amazing. I like the word that you used. This pandemic was a crisis, and that reminds me of a very old saying that we always use. That crisis in Chinese means opportunity and danger. There is a danger in front of you as well as there's an opportunity when there is crisis, and I think you put it so beautifully. Let me go across to Dave, and Dave. Qualys has been instrumental in providing the risk views of security operations by integrating security operations and governance process. What's your view, Dave, on the security visibility in such a hybrid environment?
Yeah, thanks, Ajay. As a uh, individual, I have a different say, but of course, it is very in line with what the industry is headed towards. Right? See, what happens is, you might think vendors are driving consolidation because they want to lock their clients, maybe, right? Or probably vendors are trying to spread their wings to do more than what they can. But what we are not looking at is, maybe, like they say, necessity is the mother of invention, right? Maybe customers itself are telling us to do beyond what we do. Maybe the nature of telemetry that we're already deriving from clients that can be used to deliver more than what we currently deliver, right? Which is why there is an expansion in capabilities. Of course, there are strategies to do that. You sometimes go ahead, acquire companies, paint them in your own color, and then start calling them your product, and tell them that, what, I now have a new functional coverage that I can provide you. Right? If you look at what has happened in the last couple of years, load balancers, firewalls, or perimeter security companies had this threat when people started moving to cloud in big numbers, and they had to either reinvent themselves or go ahead and look at things that are more resonating to their customers' needs now, right? So that's where also the tussle is, right? But if you look at the forefront of what we as an organization are doing, which is very aligned to what our customers need, you would never like to do something which is not in alignment with what your customers want, right? That would be the worst way of designing a product where you do not even validate whether your customer really needs it from you, right? So what we do when we looked at a platform approach, we are trying to make sure that people managing an organization can become more and more friendly towards each other. So you can bring in the IT ops, bring in the risk ops, bring in the security ops all together, and thereby it's all a win-win. You are able to bring in the mean time to resolution for incidents much shorter, and the best MTTR is zero, right? But of course, you can say we can all dream of that, but there's no harm in beginning to walk towards that goal. So what we are trying to do is we're trying to build a platform approach. I always give this example of how consumer electronics has done a much better job than cybersecurity vendors. We should not be really proud of ourselves. So what happens is, you have an Alexa that can talk to your Samsung TV, can play a Netflix content on the TV, right? There are multiple things in action here. They all talk to each other well without any complaints, saying, what, this guy did not give me the right XML format, there's no connector for me to connect to the Samsung TV. But we as a cybersecurity vendor are failing there. So which is what also is driving and pushing vendors towards a consolidated approach, because people are tired of spending time, energy, and efforts and money in looking at integration projects that are failing. Being able to just see one data from a product in your sim is one thing, versus deriving actionable advantage of it is another, right? So let's look at the fact that there are two ways of looking at it. Consolidation is being driven by vendors who think they can do more than what they do, versus also that the customers who believe in your skill set, believe in what you're delivering, are also demanding more from you. So looking at both the objectives, the outcome is still the same. The outcome is improved SecOps, improved risk ops, improved IT ops, having a smaller window of issues, being able to remediate faster, able to remediate at scale, right? So of course it becomes, like Rajesh said, brought in the topic of convenience versus best of breed thing. Like, he's tired of evaluating tons and tons of vendors. But I also think, instead of looking at features and functionality of a product or a service, you should also look at the roadmap. Am I aligned with my vendor in the roadmap of what cybersecurity will become in the next 5 years? You should also look at alignment there, not just around a point need in time. Oh, I had this work from home situation where I wasn't able to meet patching at that level of awesomeness that I wanted when my employees were home. So I did some last minute knee-jerk reaction to how do I do this. But that does not mean you will not be in alignment with that functionality when the problem of work from home doesn't exist, right? So it's a equation that's tough, but I'm pretty sure, me talking to all these CISOs globally, I see that everybody is trying to solve that in a consolidated manner. They also would like to save money, efforts, in consolidating. So tools is one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I like the way you put it. The consolidation goal should be MTTR should be zero, or at least near zero. Then that's where we should get at it. And the Alexa example, the analogy was bang on, right? The world is about interoperability. No one vendor will ever be in a position to say buy everything from me. It has to interoperate. It has to be the best of breed options. So Sarita ma'am, now that you are here, I'll remove my hat and give it to you. You can wear your hat of being a moderator and continue from here. Maybe you can ask me the question. It's probably, or Rajesh H. I think Rajesh Hemrajani, it's his turn. Maybe you can ask. I give it to you, ma'am.
Thank you much, and sorry for joining in late. There was some technical glitch at my end. Sorry for that. Um, First of all, it's a privilege to be part of this elite panel of practitioners, and I'm truly thankful to Data Security for this session. I have a few questions related to the security consolidation, the context it brings in, and what is the conflict between the business needs, delivery versus innovation, versus what we need to do as part of security governance and operations on day-to-day basis, right? So my first question I want to ask Rajesh Hemrajani, especially because I've seen that the last 2 3 years have been very interesting in uh, the banking side, banking and financial side, especially in India, where a lot of consolidation happened on the business side, deriving a huge amount of the innovations and security requirements in this space. So, Rajesh, what, in your perspective, the disruption which mobile banking brought in has changed the security requirements of mobile banking?
Sure. Thanks. Am I audible and you guys can see me, am I right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
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 hi.
yeah.
Sorry. And sorry for that initially. I think I also had a challenge joining in. So I've dialed in from mobile. So quick intro. I heard people were giving introduction, so I'll just give you a quick intro for a few seconds. So I am Rajesh Himrajani. I'm a CISO for the Paytm Payments Bank, and I have about 3 decades of experience in information and information technology and information security. I think the question, Sarita, which you asked is very, very pertinent, and all of us are actually living with that. If you see so there are, I think, three fundamental changes which has happened. Especially in the banking. So there is no more brick and mortar banks anymore. So I think the whole panel and the viewers agree that most of you would have not even gone to your branches maybe next last 2 3 years, am I right? And some people would have not even gone to branches since they opened the account as well. Also because nowadays even you can open an account by sitting in at home as well. So I think that's a basic fundamental change, and we being, I think, the in forefront of a digital revolution. So just to let everybody know, so we do not have any branches, but we have 60 million customers, and 60 million customers is by far one of the largest number of customers we have it. Am I right? No, but you would have not seen even a single branch for us. Am I right? So that's where I think the whole technology has taken us. So I think that's a fundamental change. Then second is, I think, with the mobile banking coming in, you can bank from anywhere. Am I right? While you are driving, while you are talking, while you are traveling anywhere, you can do banking from anywhere. I think that's a second fundamental change which has happened earlier. People used to at least sit on the laptop and then log into the net banking portal and do that transaction. With mobile banking, even that has gone. Am I right? So you can do banking from anywhere. I think the third change which has happened, I think, which has with this COVID, it has actually transformed the whole digital experience and the banking experience as well. So with the video KYC and all that coming in, where you can actually open an account without even visiting any branch. Earlier, at least, while opening a account, you need to visit the branch, but now even that also is gone. So I think these are the few fundamental changes which has happened. Having said this, it has actually changed the whole attack surface also for the security practitioners, for us, because now I don't need to only look at it the endpoints, am I right? Because now I have to look at all the mobiles which connects to me, whether that has maybe OS level vulnerability, or it has maybe some malicious app which is running, which is actually leaking the data, or some sort of a other app like a AnyDesk type of application, which is actually compromising my customers' credentials and all that also. So all that also has to be looked at it. So if you ask me, I think the mobile banking has completely paradigm change from a banking point of view, and it has increased the overall attack surface for all the banks. And in the mobile banking, as I think I was earlier mentioning. So now I think the few things which we need to look at it is now what is the platform, like what is the platform which from where it is connecting. So all that needs to be looked at it. How I device bind my mobile or a customer mobile, so that the we can reduce the frauds. There are a lot of other parameters we check while customer connects to from the mobile banking. So I'll just take a pause and then see if anybody else has anything else to add to
Thank
it.
you. Thank you, Rajesh. And that brings an interesting question to Dave actually, because Dave has been uh, running so many innovative streams with Qualys, and he's which has been instrumental in providing risk views of security across, irrespective of endpoint or the web or anything, right? Which is every element which is part of the business. So, Dave, do you have any? I mean, I wanted to understand your perspective of security visibility of hybrid environment. Would it have been better delivered as a platform approach, or the individual security services or best of breed kind of solution would have fitted in this kind of security transformation?
Yeah, that's a good question. I spoke about it before you joined, but I'll add some more points and keep it short. So,
Thank you.
of course, consolidation is the way to go. If you look at uh, customers today. For example, today all of us in our respective companies are currently fighting the log4j firefight, right? It's going on for the last from Friday
10
last week,
days.
10 days now.
Yeah.
Look at the
Yeah.
fact, where we have failed as an industry. We have failed as an industry because despite, you guys, when we started our careers, we spoke about having an accurate inventory, and we always thought it's an easy job, but still date it still remains an unsolved mystery. Inventory of things regardless of where your asset is and what your asset is, right? People are thinking maybe log4j is a problem for companies that have large data centers running servers. No, it is also a problem for cloud and containers running log4j. Log4j is almost about everywhere. Maybe there are millions of applications on a mobile phone that also use log4j. It's a logging framework,
Yeah.
right? So we would have done it better if we were able to consolidate all our assets in one single place, all our telemetry in one single place, right? We would have been able to respond faster and better if it was a platform approach. Because what a platform essentially is actually following the concepts of object-oriented programming language, which is reusability, right? You have a phone which is you don't buy a new phone for every app you have, right? You have one phone and then you have apps for other everything, because there's a fundamental commonality that we have between IT, risk, security, and all these things. So I believe platform approach is always the better approach, but of course you should never disbalance that with the fact that choosing something just because it's easy for you to use versus something that gets your job done in a better way, right? So as long as you're able to balance between your needs for innovation versus what you bought it for, the purpose built purpose of buying certain things, as long as the balance is achieved, you are good.
Okay. So you brought a very interesting perspective of assets there. So asset is, in my view, asset is not just the inventory. It is also about the configuration items,
Yes.
which is many times which is missed from security standpoint, because that is where I think that's not part of the coverage which normally most of the tools and technology give actually. Because the moment I bring the configuration items, then somebody says, okay, have another tool to monitor what is going on in configuration database, right? So that is also a challenge which I see when we bring in a platform approach sometimes, because this is out of coverage.
True, true. You can never have one CMDB fit all. You will always have configuration elements that you may need, others do not. Which is where you can never have just a platform. You will have platforms for majority of things that is repetitive in nature or can be delivered from one single pane of glass. But you will still have to probably depend on things that are either built in house or depend on best of breed products outside of a platform, to be able to expand it. Because today, you're right, it is about speed, agility, and scale, right? And you may not, if your platform does not have all three, you will have to depend on others.
So let me. I mean, I know that we have Ajay here, and Ajay can also throw some light into innovations in the security products, especially for unified visibility across hybrid environment. And one more point I want to touch upon with Ajay is how are you looping in academia into this journey? Are we getting the right minds of students, the fresh minds, into this journey right in the beginning?
Yeah, very, very, very interesting questions. There are two dimensions to the first part of the question in terms of innovation. Yeah, like they earlier said, necessity is the mother of invention, and that's exactly what happened with this crisis. In terms of pandemic, a pandemic accelerated so-called digital transformation, which would have taken 7 8 years to happen, but then this accelerated in such a quick fashion, primarily because data no longer resides in one particular place. What earlier in the pre-pandemic era used to be residing in the data centers now resides in the employees' laptops at home. Confidential data, regulated data resides in cloud applications. There is such a huge adoption of cloud. So data has now moved away from in a restricted environment to now a much more open environment. On the other hand, users also are now connecting from everywhere. People are working from home, people are working from branch offices, from client locations, from corporate offices, from traveling locations. So people are everywhere, data is everywhere, and it becomes a CISO's nightmare to kind of protect this transaction when the user from anywhere is touching the data from anywhere. Protecting that becomes a massive challenge. And pandemic just accelerated this problem many-fold in one shot. So the solution that the industry came in terms of innovation was to have to consolidate all the security solutions in form of a platform and put it onto the cloud. So irrespective of where the user is, he passes through that cloud. Irrespective of where the data is, that data resides behind that cloud instance. So it basically comes becomes a central point. And being a cloud location, it is resilient, and all that aspects are performance aspects are taken care of. So all the users are now routed through this cloud location to access any data that they want, irrespective of where that data resides. And the industry gave a very jazzy word to this called SASE. So this is essentially what SASE does. It's a phenomenal innovation. Vendors are scurrying to put a complete SASE solution on board, and that's something that is very interesting to watch for. While this is happening, the second innovation that happened, which in my view is phenomenal, is if you look at any breach in the world, that has followed a pattern. The pattern has been that there are security incidents or events which lead to a breach, and then after the breach, after some time, few days or few x time, uh, the secondary practitioners, we find out that there has been a breach, and then we respond to it. This has been a traditional approach where there are events leading to a breach, and then there is a detection post the breach, and then there is a response post the detection. This traditional approach is now changing. Be surprised, the kind of adoption and the kind of demand that customers have had. And like they've said earlier on, that everything comes from customer requirements. And one of the key requirements that large government organizations, banks, manufacturing organization, ITS organizations, everybody had was, can we do something to change this? And that's where some great innovation happened, wherein we started looking at the events, not at the breach. Start monitoring each and every event which can potentially lead to a breach. Because not a single event, it's like connecting the dots. So there are dots, you connect these dots, and then it eventually leads to a breach. So can we start monitoring this events? And today we have massive awesome tools, right? We have AI, we have machine learning, we have the processing power is much more bigger than what it used to be, and it can be distributed, and things can be taken more in control than what it was 3 4 years ago. So with all these improvements, what a great innovation that has happened is to start monitoring the events which can potentially lead to a breach, and then predict a breach, that a breach is likely to happen, this individual is likely to commit this kind of a breach, or this group of individuals are likely to commit this kind of a breach, and then preempt that breach, and then take all security controls in hand. And things like, maybe you can block them on the firewall, block them on the proxy, you can quarantine them, and a host of other things that you can possibly do to prevent the breach. So today, the something that customers are very impressed, and the market is very impressed about, how can we efficiently predict a breach? And of course, that's the word prediction, right? Predictions can never go wrong. Nobody predicted India will win the 1983 World Cup, but then we did. And nobody predicted that we will lose the subsequent World Cups, but we lost. So this is prediction, right? And of course, predictions, we need to increase their efficiencies, and have a good strike rate. Then these two innovations will go hand in hand. So SASE, consolidating all security solutions on the cloud with ability to predict attacks, would go a long way in redefining the ways we have known security for the past 2.5 decades. Now, the other question that you asked for academia, and especially freshers, are they interested? Uh, it's a tricky answer, but I'll try to be as diplomatic as I can. The blunt answer is no. Cybersecurity doesn't seem to be in the wish list of the freshers who pass out of college. I do lecture in a few colleges. I do moonlight as a lecturer as well in some colleges where I speak to, and then I generally conduct this poll to find out how many of them are genuinely interested in cybersecurity as a profession. Nobody is. And the people who raise their hands for cybersecurity, they all want to be hackers, they want to be famous, and they want to have lots of money with them. That seems to be the driving force for this generation Z that we are currently seeing in colleges. Cybersecurity happens a little later in their careers, 3 4 years down the line, when they see that there is so much of excitement, so much of potential here. The upsides are really good, and then that actually causes a lot of manpower shortage, manpower skill issues in the industry. A lot of poaching happens, and we end up paying exorbitant salaries. So that's the flip side of it. But yeah, we hope to correct it as an industry. We are doing some corrective measures. We're trying to introduce some cybersecurity courses as electives in certain engineering colleges, MCA colleges, and also in some MBA colleges, where cybersecurity becomes an elective that they can choose. And then, if they choose such a elective, then the industry is interested in absorbing them. So, industry is doing something, but not much. I think uh, you know. Uh, it's tinke ko sahara types, dubte ko tinka ka sahara types. It's just a tinka that we are doing. It's a very small effort. Thanks, ma'am.
Thanks, Ajay. Very, very nicely put about SASE and predictive analytics. And also, I really like the transparency what you brought in about academia. We are trying our best. When I say we practitioners, we really go into these universities, colleges, and try and see if we can create that interest. But I think the effort versus output, it's not really matching. I agree with you on that. Now let's take we all are aware of how the business has been transforming so far, and especially last few years we have seen the big business houses have transformed their business, especially in the wake of COVID or something else, right? There are acquisitions and mergers happening. There are convergence of business, and when we say convergence of business, it's not just business. We also see underlying enabling applications and infrastructures also converge. This has put significant challenges on security controls from angle of consolidation or compliance or resilience. Everybody wants resilience to be immediately handled. If there is a breach, it has to be up in 0 seconds. So this is what is the expectation from security, right? So in that context, I want to talk to our esteemed panel to understand their perspectives on security consolidation. Um, Rajesh Kumar, can you bring your
Bring your
perspectives?
perspective. Sure.
Um,
Sure, Toita.
I think,
Uh,
yeah, on the future of consolidation and your perspective of future of security services.
Sure. Sarita, the way I've been hearing the panelists and what I see in the environment across the globe. What I see is the consolidation is going to increase. More and more providers, partners are going to build these innovative product into the solutions. The adjacent aspect of every product is going to bring going to be brought in into a single interface. Some of the issues that currently we are facing, like multiple consoles, multiple small product, will eventually be consolidated. Whether that happens organically as they grow and mature their product, or inorganically when they consolidate by using acquisitions and merge these niche providers, that probably is we should look at that. But this consolidation for future is going to be the way. But at the same time, I would also see that niche product are also going to come in. Best of the breed product are going to continue to be brought in into the portfolios of the CISOs of every organization. There will always be this enticement to sometime do two products or two capabilities for for one particular risk mitigation, or mitigating one gap. Sometimes this is coming from certain feature sets. Sometimes it is coming from not keeping everything in the same basket side of sort of mentality. So this is going to continue. In some cases we'll see that some products are more suited for a certain environment, versus having a platform view. But I do see that there will be a new product which is going to come in. But at the same time, the consolidation of product partners, as well as having the single view from providing the end user, that is going to continue and get more strengthened.
You're on mute. We are not able to hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, so there was an echo, so I just thought it may be from my end and put myself on mute. Sorry about that. In the same context, I want to ask Rajesh Hemrajani also, what do you think about the advantages and disadvantage of consolidation of security controls and security services in the context of mergers in Indian banks, which have happened in last 2 years? I know it's a
Sure.
difficult, tricky question, but it may be useful for all of us to learn from your experience on the financial side, financial sector side.
Sure. So, see, I think I want to take two step backward and first try understanding. So, what are the basically business drivers which drives people to take consolidation? Am I right? So, we all know that, especially in the financial services, we have a security product at each layer of the network. Am I right? So, it's now it's like a sort of a each bank, if you ask them, they would have at least 30, 40 security product running at each layer of the network, am I right? And now considering we have a cloud and all that, so we have a security tools and products running even in the cloud as well, am I right? So I think the three key drivers which in any consolidation look at it is, now how do I unclutter this, am I right? How do I make that consolidate that? And second is the simplifying the management. So as I think some of the panelists was mentioning, so there are so many consoles I need to look at it. My SOC team has at least 10 different screens. They keep looking at each of those screens separately. So how do I make that security management more consolidated there? And the third is, I think, now, which is always a cost, am I right? So how do I, because being paying to 40, 50 different vendors and all that, how do I consolidate that? So as I think Ajay was also mentioning, so SESI is something which is giving that sort of a direction there, where people are trying to move into that, and because that's where we are trying to consolidate. So I think these are the three main drivers for any consolidation. Uh, Having said this, I think the most important is, what is your overall strategy? I think that's very important, and your strategy has to be aligning with the business goals and all that. And then, what are the type of capabilities are you looking for? So, are you missing the sort of a monitoring capability, or are you missing the incident response capability, or are you missing the threat intelligence type of capability? And what are you trying to develop that capability? And once you decide that, okay, this is my strategy for next 2 years, that I am going to focus on a monitoring, then you will start looking for what are the monitoring products I have it currently, and how do I bring it all of them into maybe a single console, and how do I actually ease that management of those security products. So I think those were the key things which will play out. And in absence of strategy, I think none of these things work. So unless you have the next 2 3 years of strategy, that this is what you're planning to do it, and these are the gaps which you think is there in your current security monitoring or security landscape, and how do you tackle those, something which everybody needs to work on, especially at least I and I think a lot of financial institutions are working on.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Dev and Ajay, if you want to add something on the security products and innovation side when in the context of consolidation, especially that's happening in the IT and OT segment.
See, in English there is a very famous proverb called as "more the merrier." But in today's context, the more is not the merrier. primarily because like Rajesh just said, 30 40 OE, 30 40 vendors trying to protect a data flow creates a big mess, and that's where the industry is heading to. Is the more is definitely not merrier. More tools, more problems, more complexities, more gaps between these tools, and no tools will work with each other, right? There will be protocol issues. There will be, I remember those days when mobile phones, there were 10 brands with 20 different charging options available with chargers, right? Today somehow it's consolidated into the Android and the Apple world, but in future that also will consolidate into one. So similarly, security OEMs, vendors will also consolidate. There will be APIs written, but there will be gaps. So more tools, more gaps. More is not the barrier. Ultimately, the solution is going to be a SASE solution. Now the question is whether it's going to be a heterogeneous with multiple OEMs with APIs in one platform, or is it going to be a single monolithic platform? This is something that is, wait and watch, and both the Rajeshes will be instrumental in writing the checks and writing the POs in making this happen. And but let's wait and watch which direction it heads. Yeah. So, Dave, you want to add something?
Yeah, this is interesting because I'll tell you what, there is no clear winner here, right? And I think from a customer's standpoint, in the shoes of Rajesh sir, Rajesh and Sarita ma'ams, when you are a consumer, you also want flexibility, right? So tomorrow, what will happen is, while everybody is up for the fact that we would like to innovate, we would like to also consolidate. When I say consolidate, the smaller view of consolidation is, can I have a mechanism, where I consolidate security stack for all of my assets, be it on-prem, cloud, container, serverless, function as a service, API as an asset, or maybe the assets of tomorrow like connected cars and whatsoever, right? So we really want that. So certain portions of your business security requirement will be able to take advantage of this consolidation, but certain part of your business will require you to do more than just doing mediocre. The problem today is, sustained mediocrity is becoming the new name for excellence, and that is something, consumers will change it. And when you do that, you will actually push out to have, you will actually, change the nature of your proof of concepts with your vendors. You will say, forget your functions and features, let's start with what level of integration awesomeness can you provide. This is my current stack, can you adopt to work with what I already have from day one? I don't want you to get into a trap where I'm then, looking at bells and whistles first and the interoperability next. That should not happen, right? So these are, things, that will remain debatable, but I'm pretty sure, everybody will take an informed decision, making sure that they're not locking out, they're getting the best, they're getting not just best of tools, but also, able to adopt more, processes and all these things. So this is my 2 cents here.
Thanks a lot. I mean, it's a different perspective, two different worlds, isn't it?
Yeah.
One is me and Rajesh Himjani and Rajesh Kumar. We fall into the category of your clients and having big expectations when you come and talk to us. So it's a
Absolutely.
very different world. Yeah, we want everything to be plug and play, integrable, everything to be covered and unified dashboard in as simple as word as possible.
And at the
And
lowest
it's
price.
yes, or probably free of cost. Yeah. So, so I just want to take a pause here to see if we have any audience questions because I have many more questions for this panel. So I just want to check if there are any questions. Otherwise, I'll go ahead. Um, Ajay, a question to you.
Mhm.
What is trending in cybersecurity architecture, especially because you people design and define the products when maybe it is on-premise or cloud or the collaborative platforms or people like us in automotive industry when we integrate with our suppliers, right? That's a very different ball game altogether. So, what is trending in the architecture? Um, what do
Yeah.
you, especially when you talk about the visibility of a connected business infrastructure?
Amazing, amazing. That's a beautiful question. So again, everything comes from the customer needs, and all these things are driven by customer requirements. One of the things that earlier one of the panelists touched upon was getting these endpoints rolled to all the people sitting at home today. It's a nightmarish activity, and this one of the interesting things that is trending now is how can I make endpoint which can be pushed into a remote employee's laptop wherever he is sitting in less than 30 seconds, and the space it should consume should be less than 30 MB, or less, much less than that, and it should be able, it should not require a restart of the machine. This is how we began with a customer requirement saying, in a Windows machine, install an endpoint which does not require a restart, which should be done in 30 seconds, and the footprint should be less than 30 MB. And with this, there have been some very trending innovations that happened. Forcepoint came up with this agent called as a Neo, very nicely called Neo. Always reminds me of that Matrix movie. So the Forcepoint Neo is one such agent which can be pushed, can be deployed in a jiffy in less than 30 seconds. So that's something that has been one big thing which the market has driven for vendors to take stock and vendors to do. The other thing has been cloud interoperability. That's going to be a very big challenge because customers will sign up for multiple cloud solutions, and then, like you rightly said, then you will want the third cloud company to integrate with these two cloud companies, and then give you that functionality that you need. That is where I think the universal APIs will come into picture. I think the future is going to be how well your products integrate with each other, with my existing solution. Like I think Dave or somebody just touched upon it now, is I have this stack, I want this functionality, or this is my problem statement, and how well can this integrate. So APIs will be trending in the future. APIs, endpoint, footprint, I already touched upon, and of course security consolidation is something that's going to happen. Multiple consoles will shrink into one. Multiple gaps, the products create gaps. The biggest problem, console is of course a management issue, but when you look at the security issues I know, being a proxy vendor, there are many times we are forced to connect our proxy to something else with an ICAP, which is not encrypted, which is in clear text. All that somebody has to do is put a tap, and then the entire organization's information is in his hands. So those are the things. Interoperability will become the future thing which we all will watch out for, and APIs and the endpoint that I touched upon. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a great, panel discussion today. So, thank you, everyone. Those were some wonderful and elaborative insights, I should say. So, on that note, we conclude our panel discussion on security, conflict within the. Once
Thanks
again,
everyone. Thanks
joining
Savita.
in.